Top of the morning, afternoon, and evening, folks. It's Captain Liam here. This is Check-In Tuesday. It's a space where we take a little bit of time, make sure everyone's okay, and we kind of try and ask each other, can we help, and how to work together to create a better yachting environment. We may have Emma join us here from Seize the Mind. Once again, I see a couple of people there. I see Emma. Hi, Emma. I just sent you a request to join and see if it works. Captain Scott might join us. It'll pause and then Emma might be able to jump in. So it's a weekly space dedicated to crew wellness, where we just try and understand that there is a time to pause, whether it's during lunch, whether it's after work, whether it's on a Sunday. It's important we just take those moments to pause. And just reflect a little bit and also help the people around us. So that's what Check-In Tuesday is about. There's a lot of people that are starting to jump in the call. Hi, Captain Scott.
Hey, Captain Liam, how we doing, man?
Good. Thank you for the breath work this morning.
Yeah, man. That
15
one,
minutes.
that one hit hard this morning, so I figured I have to share because that one hit all the right buttons and put me in the right
Yeah,
space this morning.
I did need it actually. It was I think it was a breath retention that got me.
Yeah,
I couldn't do 2 minutes though, could you?
yeah. Well, I've been doing it for a long time, sometimes you can. Sometimes 2 minutes is easy. Sometimes it's hard, but you got to do it at your own pace. If you got to stop, you stop, and then you start over again.
And when you do the breath retention, is it on like a half breath or you breathe out? Or because I couldn't, the first one was a
Usually,
full breath and I was like,
yeah, I usually breathe everything out, and then I just kind of try to zone out so that the time goes by fast. And then there's some other ones where you do like a full body scan. You check like your entire body, you go through everything. And one thing that has gotten me is that there was a part that said just listen to your heartbeat and have your heartbeat slow down. If you focus on that, so
okay.
it goes by pretty fast. It can go by pretty fast because when you start thinking about it, I know I start panicking like, oh man, it's been a long time. I need
Yeah.
need some air. Need some air.
Yeah. But you got 2 minutes. Well done.
Yeah.
Sunshine.
Hello. Hi.
Hello, Emma.
Hi.
You,
How's it going?
How you doing,
I'm
Emma?
better.
Hello, Captain Scott.
Yes, ma'am. Nice
How's
to
it? How
meet
are you
you.
doing? Yeah, you
Nice to meet you.
too. Thank you
Anyway,
for
you bought
inviting
the,
me, Liam.
oh, pleasure, Emma. You brought sunshine to Seattle, which is not easy, you know. the
Ding.
crew the crew loved it. It was I don't know if I tell you, Scott, we did like a mental health aware, correct? That's the course, Emma?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Mental health aware. And it was funny, the crew kind of started off like, really, Cap, we've got so much to do. We're busy. It's, whatever day it was, things happening. And then I'm like, nope, this is my priority. There's challenges. It's the middle of winter. We're going to lock this one in. And the boys are like,
Thank
not interested, no interested. But at the end of the day, I spoke to everyone. They all had positive feedback. And they're all like, yep,
you.
we got something from it. And I'm like, cool. Even the young South African Decky was smiling. I'm like, I know. You're better
I
because of this.
know.
So thank you, Emma. Thank you.
Well, thank you for prioritizing it. Thank you for inviting me. And I think that is definitely the story of my life a little bit. Sometimes I go on boats and I can sense I'm wanted, I'm
Nah.
revered, I'm not wanted. People are scared that I'm going to make them talk about their feelings in front of their mates. And by the end of it, I think what people expect and what people get, there's normally a bit of a difference there. And by the end of it, people are chatting, they're cohesive. And the ones that are always kind of maybe the ones I think I'm not going to get across to, the real sitting there, arms crossed, really alpha, they're the ones that normally come and find me afterwards. And they're like, that was really good. That reminded me of something. And then we just get that amazing, authentic communication. And I'm like, yes, that's what I'm doing it for. So thank you for saying that.
No problem. Captain Scott just texted me. He said he just got bumped. So
Oh,
he's
no.
he's frozen there. So I'm not sure
Oh,
what
God, I hope I'm
happened.
not frozen on an ugly face. Sorry, Captain Scott.
No, you're fine. You're shining, Emma. It's Captain Scott there. There was some live connection, but it looks like I'm not sure what's happened here. but he's texting me and everything. I just cannot see him on the live communication. I'll send another invite to you, Captain Scott, if you can hear us. If not, you've paused in a really good look anyway.
Perfect.
Anyway, so let's keep rolling. So Check-in Tuesday is a weekly space dedicated to crew wellness, real conversations, and stronger leadership in yachting. The reason I've got you here because I saw the results firsthand. I did the mental health first aid course 2 days. The crew have now done the mental health aware. It's a must. It's a game changer. Um, you know, how come not many yachts are doing it, or are they doing it? I'm not noticing.
So I think it's a brand new concept for us. It's something that, we hadn't really been talking about. We'd all gone to sea and we were just kind of, getting on with it. And I think our industry, our brilliant, amazing industry, is quite reactionary. We tend to kind of wait until something's happened and then we think kind of, how could we do that better? And we go back. And I think with mental health, it's just one of those topics that's not going away. More and more
Yeah.
people are talking about it. And some of those old stigmas are starting to disappear. So we've got, older people talking, younger people talking, male, female. It's just a topic that a lot of people are realizing. It's not about weakness. It's not about cracking open someone's brain and,
Yeah.
kind of watching them cry. It's about health. And like
Yeah.
anything on boats, when we are prepared, when we can recognize signs and symptoms, when we are being proactive, we see levels of safety, preparedness going on,
Awesome.
being prepared, and we just feel safer. So I think a lot of people are starting to realize, and there's been a bit of a snowball effect. Now that people realize, and captains like you were chatting to other captains, and they were like, my team was speaking better. I felt like I had more communication, more safety, more people on my side. So it wasn't just me looking after the crew. We peer to peer, people were looking out
Yeah.
for each other. That's where I think the big change. And we passed our 2000 mark. So we are getting out there. Yes, thank you. Our
Was it
mission is to
2,000
get 1 in 10
students?
people trained.
So 2,000 students, correct?
Yeah,
Or
yeah. 2000
wow.
crew members, students coming through, self-funded, boats putting them through, captains putting people through. It's coming,
Yeah.
the business is coming from everywhere, and we are so here for it. So, yeah, I think it's going pretty well, and long may that continue.
Yes, absolutely. We've got some questions here. A marathon for mental health. I think we know who that is.
Yeah.
Hi,
Hi,
Captain Scott.
Mel.
How are you?
As hopefully I didn't offend anyone.
No, no, it was a good pause. It took me a while to realize you weren't talking, though. I was like, what happened to Scott? I thought you were doing some more breath work or something. I was like,
Yeah, I was holding my breath.
holding your breath. No,
Very
Emma,
impressive.
yeah. Captain Scott sent me some breath work this morning, and I'm trying this yoga journey, which is really hard in the mind, And
Yeah,
then I did this breath work this morning. It was a 2-minute breath retention, which was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Give me a spear gun and a snorkel and a mask, I'm fine. But to
yeah.
sit there and try and do that. So while you're away, Scott, we talked about the importance of the course. Emma celebrated the 2,000 students have now completed the
All
course.
right.
And I think Melanie just jumped in as well, which is Maritime for Mental Health. So 2,000 have done the mental health first aid or the mental health aware combined.
Combination, so both. Yeah, so the half day is just an awareness. It's half a day. It's a great qualification for any crew member, but it's really
Yeah.
good at kind of increasing your health, your awareness of mental health, and making sure, just like on boats, we have to be physically healthy to do our jobs, to do crossings. We want to make people as mentally resilient. It's not that owners aren't going to owner, or boats aren't going to change itineraries, or we sell boats, or some chaos comes into our lives. It is going to happen. So
Yeah.
how do we get you as strong, as resilient, as prepared for that? And how can we kind of recognize in ourselves, being a crew member means you are naturally, self-reliant. We go into the middle of the oceans. There are no firemen coming to save us in the middle of the oceans. We have to do that for ourselves. And I think just expanding that knowledge, that skill, that confidence to also include things like mental health crisis or poor mental health. Yeah, that's where we're kind of getting great results.
So let me start though with you, Captain Scott. The first point here is be a responder. Mental health crises are real, which you talked about. It's
Mhm.
important to stay calm and safe. Are we saving ourselves or are we saving others? Where do you kind of take it, Scott? If you did one of these courses, Are you looking at building your mental health or helping identify mental health issues in others?
Well, I think you can't really have one without the other, because if you're not mentally sound, it's going to be tough for you to help someone else. Although a lot of times when we have problems ourselves, we overcompensate by trying to help other people because it makes us feel better, but it doesn't necessarily solve the problems that we're having internally. Because I know I've experienced a lot of these mental type traumas in my own life with my own family and stuff. I have a younger brother that has schizophrenia, and we went through.
Oh,
I mean, this would probably be, if I went into all the details, this would probably take a couple of weeks, because I probably need to unwrap some of these things, because it's been decades of a lot of that. But being able to deal with that stuff, well, cope with it is probably better, because the mental health awareness and mental health in general in the US and a lot of places is lacking, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
and that's why you use certain tools like breath work to build your own mental endurance or mental strength to prepare you for the day. So
Yeah.
I'll be honest, Emma, a lot of these courses I do, whether it's leadership or, mental health, I do it. I keep saying to myself, I'm doing it to help others. I'm doing it to help others. But what I'm realizing is it's helping me far more than I ever could
Hmm.
imagine. It's helping me with the, like, I'm a giving person. I want others to succeed around me. But by helping others, I'm actually helping myself learn
Hmm.
how to deal with the things I deal with. And as a captain, you are alone. I'll say
Hmm.
that, Emma. It's a lonely world out here because you're between owners,
Yeah.
brokers, crew. You've got your family, and all of a sudden you're in this little nucleus. And sometimes that's not the calmest nucleus. It's sometimes
Yeah.
stressful, but
A lot of pressure at the top, and you as you kind of make your way up those kind of that chain of command, less and less people to talk to, less and less people to open up. You might not want to make it their problem, you might not want to show vulnerability, so there's a lot going on. And I do have it on good authority that 100% of humans are captains. So so 100% of captains are human. So you're
yeah,
allowed to have
100%.
feelings. You're allowed to be disappointed. You're allowed to go
Hmm.
through things. But it's just like,
Yeah,
what am I allowed to kind of show? And I think, like anything, like any good leaders that we have, like you, most leaders are leading by example. So they are taking care of themselves. They are prioritizing their self-help. They're getting off the boat and making sure they're checking in with friends. So it's not just this one-dimensional life. They're getting a full kind of life full of meaning and purpose. They are
yeah,
doing something for their physical health. And again, crews that, have leadership whereby they prioritize or they make space for kind of physical health, for breath work, for looking out for yourself. Definitely you're going to feel the benefit of yourself, but by leading by example, you're going to have that snowball effect, that rolling down into crew also deciding, well, I can have an extra drink and that will be absolutely fine, or I can go home, we can go and do the goat track tomorrow, and we can start the day with a
yeah.
swim. There's choices out there. It's just which choice, which path are we going to walk down? And when you've got leaders that are kind of, encouraging or opening up those spaces to do healthy coping mechanisms, we just see better longevity, better results, better cohesion, communication, all the good things in life, right?
So
But it
where's the
starts with
weakness in
you.
the jump? So where's the weakness in the jump? Is it a mental barrier due to culture that people say, let's not talk about mental health? Or I don't need a mental first aid course. And you
Okay.
mentioned American culture, Captain Scott, that sometimes there's no space for that in that corporate
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
world.
It's lacking.
Um, it's
It's
lacking, you say.
lacking. Yeah.
Yeah, I see
It
the
definitely
obstacle. I see
is.
the hurdle people have to mentally take, saying it's not a mental health issue; it's mental health endurance. So we're
Hmm.
supporting the system here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe, and I don't know where I'm saying this. I think the term mental health maybe has got some bad PR in the past. We think of it as
Yes.
weakness. We think of it of men showing emotions. We've got this stigma and this taboo wrapped up around that term. And actually, if we were talking about it, if I was describing the course that you did, Liam, it would actually be crew crisis response and care. That's actually what we're
Ah,
teaching. And that's much
perfect.
more understandable, much more
Yeah.
dynamic. Men are putting their hands up. They want to learn crisis kind of response, but not many people. And it's not that it's a judgment. It's just, have you been allowed to talk about mental health? Do you know that actually we're talking about health, being robust, being as healthy, not disease, disorders? I think there's a lot of unpicking of stigmas. And like any stigma, when you're in it, it always feels impossible until it's done. I'm stealing that from Nelson Mandela. Like, you just, when you're in it, it feels like we'll never have awareness, we'll never have open communication. But we've seen it with, in Australia, some of the amazing campaigns like Movember. In
Yeah,
your generation, Liam, you know, think about some of the stigmas we've overcome: men getting prostate checks, men
yeah,
checking for cancers, men talking about their mental health. We've seen all of those stigmas roll back because of awareness, because of great leadership, because of people being open and honest. And then we get better results. And I'm kind of the same generation as you. You know, men in South Africa in the 80s would not go and get those checks, but now they feel comfortable to. Now they know they're allowed to go and see a doctor and get the treatment. So I have to have faith that, you know, it feels really hard now. It feels like we've got a big mountain to climb, but she loves a challenge. And
yeah.
I
You're
just,
doing well. You do it with
you were
grace.
talking before about this, the breath work that you were talking with Captain Scott, and you were saying how hard it is, but is anything worth achieving easy? Or is it because you've
That's
put the
true.
hard work in, you've put the time in, that you finally get that 2 minute mark, you feel like you've earned it, right? And
Hmm.
that's what we're trying to teach, is that we need to get more resilience, more health, so we can do our jobs, so we can enjoy our lives.
So yeah,
Yeah.
we talked about signs and symptoms, and I agree with you, Emma. I agree. There's a couple of points, and I want to say one thing though quickly before I go on. The other night, I put myself way out there. I went to a movie premiere called The Pause, The Pause. It's about perimenopause. It's a movie,
Ah.
30, 40 minutes about perimenopause, and it talks about all the things of estrogen. And I went there with my wife, and I'm like, there was only two men in the group of 50 women, and I'm like,
Mhm.
what am I
Oh.
doing here? And I made the mistake of wearing a bright pink shirt as well. I was like, how did I get myself into this? But I left that room learning. You know, I wasn't
Yeah.
comfortable at all. And I left learning something about a different gender that I had no idea about and the challenges that that gender faces. Uh, Back to the course, back to yachting. I think yachting is kind of 10 years or 5 years behind a lot of trends. I think
Hmm.
we hold on to our egos and our pride as captains and owners and
Yeah.
brokers, and it is a chauvinistic industry.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, we don't have the space to reach out. But the signs and symptoms, you know, Scott, you would have seen them. What are some of the signs and symptoms you see either in yourself or in crew when you're working and leading this team that are signs that we need to have a break or take a mental health check?
Well, when people get really quiet or get really stressed are two big signs, and a lot of times you need to check that before that happens. And it's, you know, you need to set things in motion. Like, say you're doing a bunch of back-to-back charters and stuff like that, you need to probably say, hey, just make sure everybody leans on everybody, and you know, if you need anything or need a minute, you know, or you got something going on with your family or what have you, you need time, just let us know and we'll all cover for you. And it just, you know, take the time that you need. Just if you put that out there, then a lot of times it kind of takes some of the stress and puts more oxygen in the room. You know, one thing that I will say, that one thing that made an impact in my life is a saying that it was actually by Mr. Rogers, was if it's mentionable, it's manageable. So if you don't bring it
Ah,
up, we don't know that we need to help you. So
yeah,
you got to say something, put your hand up, you know, and that's something us as men, as we're supposed to be able to take it. And there's still that bravado and stuff. We don't need to go to the doctor. The
yeah,
doctor's got it all wrong and all this other stuff, you know, or whatever. But
yeah,
we're usually the wrong ones, and it's, you know, it's something that I see it a lot in the captains groups, where a lot of people are hesitant to ask for help because they see it as a sign of weakness, not just in
yeah.
mental health but in everything. Because us, some captains have big egos and I don't, but I'm okay with asking whatever. If anything, I'm on the opposite. I'll regurgitate out whatever I'm saying or thinking. I, sometimes that's an issue too.
Yeah, true. And Emma, can you feel these signs? You know, we're talking about signs and symptoms in others. Should people also be checking in with themselves and looking? And how do you do that? How do you look at your signs and symptoms? Is it a mirror check? Is it a self reflection?
I think, I mean, having a degree of self awareness and self reflection is important, but we're in the service industry. We know we are
Yeah.
more likely to look after the, you know, the oligarch's dog and make sure they've got kind of fresh water on the after deck than making
Yeah.
sure we have any
How's the dog
hydration. So
feeling? You
Yeah, yeah.
know?
yeah, Exactly. The dog has ice water. Have you had any ice water today? So
Yeah, yeah.
it is a little bit of a mind flip. And I think one of the things
True.
is, this is a hard job. We're going to be exhausted. We're going to be under pressure. That's normal. That's part of the job. But you should still be able to do the job. If you are able bodied and you've got good connections, it's a hard job that when you've got great teamwork and you feel safe psychologically, physiologically, you can dig deep and just get a lot of stuff done.
Hmm.
So I guess in the first warning signs we always talk about in mental health first aid is changes in behavior. So changes in that
Ah,
usual person's behavior, their usual physical health. So if
Yeah, that's a
you
good
said
one.
some really good ones there, Scott. So if that person is normally quite bubbly and they're quiet, they're normally in the crew mess being part of the everything and they go quiet. Maybe if they're shy and they're not, they're normally quiet, they're going out, they're staying out. Suddenly they're the ones going and drinking all the time. So normally what we start to see, and it's easiest to see the external signs and symptoms, more the physical changes or the behavioral changes. And that would be the first kind of warning sign. I would always think, why the change? What's going on? If it's not obvious to me, like it's really shit, we've had a long summer, we haven't had a day off, then I would definitely be questioning. And if it is obvious to me, I would still be having a conversation, but I might be doing a little bit of self care, looking after myself so that I can then put my own oxygen mask on, take a couple of
Yeah.
those deep, yummy breaths, and then start to help everyone else on the boat. But definitely, I would be kind of helping myself, getting myself as resilient as possible so that I could then help other crew members, which I know is quite a
absolutely.
shift, mind shift
It
Yeah,
is,
in
it
the
yeah.
is, and that's why
hospitality sector.
I'm kind of mentally trying to roll through it. And Ira just joined. Ira's from California down south, great media expert. But that shift, is it going to be? Do we want an industry that everyone's kind of going up to each other and saying, "How are you?" Check in Tuesday, and like, or
Maybe.
is it certain key players in the team that we kind of allocate that freedom? Whether it's someone who's approachable, or what's in a crew of, let's say, 12 or 20, what's your approach? Should it be the captain? Should it be everyone checking each other? Where do you think the ideal world is? Like in 5 years, once you've got
Scott or me?
200,000 people have done your course.
I'll go if you want. I mean, for me, ideal world, I would say we all need to check in on each other because chances are, if I'm tired, so is everybody else.
Yeah,
True.
absolutely.
Especially if the cap's tired, everyone in
Yeah,
the cabin's
yeah, yeah.
tired.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I would like, in a perfect world, I would like to think that we're all checking in on each other, but some people's personalities and other, everyone deals with things differently. But, like I said, chances are if we're feeling a certain way or down about something or just kind of off, chances are at least one other person on there, just maybe you get to make it a little more regimented, where you make like some kind of office hours where it's an open time for once a week. If you got something, just come in at this time, because we used to do that in college, where if you had an issue with something, you come by at these office hours. Granted, you can't have any problems any other time.
Exactly.
Exactly. Save it for Tuesday,
Yeah, it's
Scott.
only it's only Tuesday at 12.
That's
If
it.
not, we're
Yeah,
not dealing with it.
that's my mind.
It's
That's my mind.
Wednesday.
Everyone.
I'm not talking today.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's not check-in Tuesday yet, folks. Come on, schedule
today's
it.
my day
Schedule
of
your problems.
today's my day of silence.
Yeah.
There we go.
And
Respecting
what do
that.
you think, Emma? Like, once you get to 20,000 students, which hopefully is this year, once you get to 200,000 students, what's your ideal world? That you go to a yacht and they've done your courses, and you see the energy, or there's accountability.
Yeah. I mean, this, I've seen it done in so many great ways. So, as mental health first aiders, if we've done the course, we always encourage people to do kind of the stress container every week, every part of
Mm.
every safety meeting. So, just like we have to drill, we have to check PPE, we have to check the fire, we've got all of that already. We've got the system in place. So, just adding one little thing like, should we be checking in with our crew, and just making it a part of the weekly, the monthlies that we're doing anyway. And if you've got a mental health first aider to kind of run that, that's great. One of the most brilliant things I've seen, and it was from this incredible, amazing sailor, really well respected, totally alpha. And for him, it was all about safety. So he brought on the traffic light system, and he wanted everyone to go out when we were doing a lot of regattas and high-powered, race boats. For him, he wanted to go out, have a great day sailing, but he also wanted everyone to come home at the end of the day. So this Aussie guy would always kind of just start at the beginning of any race day. We'd all stand on the bow, eyes down, eyes closed, and he'd be like, right, all my green lights, put your hands up. Green lights, most of us would put our hands up, and that means I'm good to go. Let's have a great day sailing. And he's clocking everyone. Right, orange lights, put your hands up. And occasionally you get an orange light. An orange light is, I'm okay, I'm not great. Maybe I had a really bad night's sleep. Maybe I had an argument with my wife, my husband last night, but I'm okay. And he would see, right, Captain Scott, you're in a position of responsibility. And he would make those changes. He would be dynamic in that process. And then
Okay.
occasionally you get red lights. Red lights, put your hands up. And red light, I'm on the floor. I don't even know how I got changed today. And if that person was
Yeah.
on the bow or in a position of responsibility, he would immediately swap. He would be like, right, Liam, you're coming here. You're going to stay here. Da,
Yeah.
da, 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 da. We're still going out. We're still getting a great day sail. But anyone that was vulnerable, it was just a thing that he did. There was
Oh, that's cool.
no, it was happening whether you were good or not. It was just a kind of daily thing before we went out racing. And then I do know a few captains that have a number system. So when the chief officers are taking a new crew member around, the captain's going to ask you your number. 10 is fan bloody tastic. 0
Uh,
is I'm on the floor. And he said you do get a lot of 6, 7s, and 8s, but when you do get anything lower than a 6 as a captain, he would be like, oh, 5. I'd be really struggling to do what you're doing at a 5. How are you coping with it? Do you need to chat? Is there anything I can do about it? So
yeah.
again, just creating these safety systems, creating these kind of monthlies, weeklies, like we have for all of our other safety systems. So it's the framework's there. It's less a kind of like, do I need to mental health you now? It's already there. Those check-ins are there, and people know on that date when you're asked by the captain to be honest, to be open, when you're asked your color to be honest, to be open, and then the captain at least knows what you've got for the day. And as
Yeah.
captain, would you rather be surprised mid-crossing by something, or would you rather know and prepare for it?
Yeah, great advice. The
What do you
problem is, if I do my Monday meeting at 8 o'clock with the crew, but I've usually had a coffee and a half. So I'm about 10 and the crew are about 5 going, Cap, can we just get through this meeting here? So I'll maybe do it toward the end of the week when they feel a bit more positive. But we did Lost and Found crew joined us, Key Group joined us, and Chris Cole came back. Hi, Captain Chris. Um, the stress container. Do you know about that, Captain Scott? Do you want to explain that one?
No,
It's quite a good.
I don't know about
Is
that
there a
one.
way to do it verbally without the visualizations or?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really great kind of marker. So it's known as the stress container, stress bucket. You might have heard it. Stop me if you kind of heard it. But it basically means that
Yeah.
we all have a different vulnerability to stress. So each of us has a different size stress container or stress bucket. So if you've had a really wonderful life, you've had lots of, respectful relations, good upbringing, conflict resolution in the household, you've probably got a big, giant, huge stress container that can take quite a lot of stress in it. That wasn't my life growing up, as Captain Liam knows. Lots of alcoholism, lots of abandonment, lots of trauma, lots of tragedy. So I've got a much smaller stress container. So we inherit the stress container, the size of it, our vulnerability to stress because of our early formative years. Then we've got stress going into the container, and stress is life. It's people breaking up with us. It's boats changing itineraries. It's owners being kind of sometimes owners. So the first two elements, Captain Scott, we're not in control of. We inherit the size of the container from our upbringing, and then we've got stress constantly going into it. And all of us will have a different snap. So when our stress container is so full, so overloaded with stress, no matter what the size is, that moment of overflow is when you get emotional snapping. And most people's kind of snap will fall within those 3 kind of human responses to a stressful situation. So you'll get fighters, people screaming, shouting, slamming doors because they're stressed and they're angry. You'll get flighters, you'll get people running away, avoiding, stopping talking, stopping answering WhatsApp messages. And then you might get freezers as well, people who just kind of numb out, disassociate, can't answer, anything like that. So that's the whole thing. And then at the bottom of our stress container, luckily we have a tap. So we do have a way of releasing stress out of that container before it overflows. And in order for us to maintain equilibrium in that stress container, we've got to open up that tap. The stress coming in is
Gotcha.
an unavoidable. The size of the container is an unavoidable. But if we want to maintain equilibrium, we need that stress to go out that working tap. So opening up the tap is basically doing anything like self-care. So if it makes you feel stronger, connected, it could be breath work, it could be talking, it could be exercise. Anything like that opens up the tap, lets it out. We don't get that overflow. But what we also have, as you probably know, Captain Scott, is we have a lot of unhelpful coping mechanisms. So sometimes what crew do, and what I did a lot, is I think I'm doing something that's going to help me, but actually it's not getting rid of the stress. It's just blocking that tap off, and the stress starts overflowing and filling and snapping and overflowing. And unhelpful coping strategies is anything that you do in a moment of stress that kind of numbs you out, distracts you, or delays you from feeling those ugly feelings. So classically, that might be doom scrolling, drinking, overworking, overeating, undereating. Anything that when you're doing it, you're forgetting about what's going on in your head and you're just feeding your problems, numbing yourself, self-medicating. So the stress container just gives you a better way of recognizing your snaps so you can get some self-awareness, sharing it with your teams. We then get to see how other teams members, our crew members are snapping. And it also is a really good way to remind yourself, yeah, there's loads of ways you can cope with this that aren't great, but there's better ways of doing that. And when people write it down in their own handwriting, not some generic list written by some
Okay.
good doer like me, not some generic list written by Captain Liam, it's their handwriting. So then you do get people maybe starting to push the helpful up, and statistically we start seeing those unhelpfuls go down over a long period of time if people are doing it every week or every month. And that's why I love it, because it's not just
Awesome.
journaling or writing down your feelings, it's doing something about it. And as crew members, captains, chefs, I think we're quite good at, action. We like action. We like to think we're doing something about it. And that's why I think the stress container is such a brilliant, non kind of, stigma language kind of exercise.
So it's
Oh,
something that the
excellent.
crew could do individually by themselves, but do they write both down? They write the positive ones that can relieve stress and then also the negative ones. And then
Yeah.
they see
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They have
And
to
what
do
is,
both. And yeah.
yeah, no, go on. Go on. They have to do both.
I was just saying they have to do both. And then that self-awareness, like I said, when we start to see over time that, drinking has been on the list and I've still got the same stresses, and now I've got new stresses because I left my phone in the bar in Barcelona and the captain's really cross with me and I sent inappropriate messages when I was drunk. You start seeing that and you start recognizing it. And when you start, for me, I'm pretty honest about it, running has always been my helpful coping mechanism. I just started running a lot more. I started running before drinking. I started running before drinking so I could minimize the time I was drinking, but also taking yummy brain chemicals into any drinking kind of, crew hangout was just, I didn't stop drinking. I still drink, but I started managing my own drinking without making it anyone else's responsibility or problem. And that's what I really like about the stress container is that self-awareness and that accountability it brings into your life.
I love it. I
Oh,
love it. We
very
had
good.
the sober yacht stew on a couple of weeks ago. Remember that, Captain Scott?
Oh,
Mm.
yeah,
And
yeah.
she was a
She was awesome.
blast.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she
She
was
was
a lot of it.
great.
But it reminds me of that because you're not only saying you're identifying there's a problem, but there is a
Yeah.
solution and they're tangible. What's some of the good ways to relieve stress? In your experience, Captain Scott, you've been on yachts for years, you've seen the cruise, you know the close quarter situations. What's your couple of go-tos for the crews listening out there? And I think Alex, crew and you joined, and a couple of other people, Jules, the yacht shelf joined. So there's a couple of crew industry professionals there. What would you say to them in addition to
Well,
what Emma
I
said?
know one thing that's been my whole entire life, my self coping mechanism is always exercise. Like when I was
Mm.
young, I used to work out a lot, and I didn't realize that that's what was my go-to because it kind of just kept me stable and everything. And then later in life, it was the breath work and nutrition and stuff like that. I think if you focus on what you're eating, you don't need to be like extreme about any of it because that inherently causes a whole bunch of problems too. Like I've seen a lot of people that are maybe they've stopped drinking and then they just go full on into exercising and they go extreme with that too. That's not necessarily good because you're really not solving the underlying problem that's causing you to feel that. You're trying to fill that with something that there's a void there that you need to deal with. Because I heard something recently. I think the guy's name was JJ Douglas. And I watched him. He was talking about, I think I might have sent you something, Captain Liam,
Mm.
with JJ Douglas, where he said, if you're getting triggered by something, it's not that person, it's because of something you have not dealt with.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
profound, isn't it?
Yeah.
Most
The
people
guy
take it
was
out on the
like,
person or thing.
yeah, it's not them at all. It's something that you're not dealing with. And if you go from like extreme of drinking to exercise extreme, it's because you're still doing the same thing. You're just probably not abusing yourself, but then you are physically doing that as well. But for me, exercise, just I'm a big proponent of getting people off the boat. Like we get done with the trip, just get off the boat, go walk around. Even if you just wander around for a little bit. I
Yeah,
mean, granted, if you're in a foreign country, please go in pairs.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Buddy system, all that stuff.
So
We need
wandering
to
around
take care of each
Genoa,
other, but
and you're like,
just walk around and just kind of keep each other saying,
yeah,
dude, go do a workout, go for a swim, the ocean.
yeah,
We're in the water all the time. Even just jumping in the water mid charter,
Yes.
sometimes that's like a huge reset. Like, hey, the guests are off, everybody jump in the water. you
Yeah.
know
yeah. True. Well, Melanie just said get off the boat, but just above her, Sam. Sam is absolutely phenomenal chief steward on Unbridled. Her and a partner, Luan, they used to do yoga every morning. We kind of trade times on the sun deck. I'd do a workout and then she'd do yoga, but she was a really motivating person to have around. So hello, Sam. But I think you're right. It's a challenge though because we move so much, so it's hard to get that routine. But if you have
hmm
the same theory, make your space, whether it's on
hmm
board the boat somewhere. Like I did my 15-minute breath exercise you gave me in the crew mess this morning. And the
hmm
whole time thinking, it was 5:30, and I'm thinking,
Yeah.
please don't let anyone get up. Please don't let
Yeah.
anyone get
Yeah.
up. And I pulled it off. I was like, cool, got away
Well,
with
that's
it.
really good because I've forced myself a lot of times to do it where it's really loud. And you'd be
Ah,
surprised, yeah, because you can actually, if I feel like I'm doing really well, you actually zone out. Like one time I did it in the gym in this aerobic studio because it was quiet, and I came out of it and they were doing aerobics.
classic.
That's
And you're
how
like,
deep you went.
Well, there's
yeah.
also because somebody came by and kicked me and was like, "How long are you gonna be here?"
You
I love
okay?
it.
You okay? Yeah.
That'll snap you out of your
I was like,
nice.
uh, "I guess not anymore. I guess I'm done."
Okay, so no, thanks. Um, anyway, Sam's off to yoga. Awesome,
Yay,
Sam. Say hello to
Sam.
Luan for me.
Enjoy.
Hey, Sam.
I think she's in Malta at the moment, which is a beautiful scene. Great running
Oh,
there, by the
nice,
way.
nice.
I did some awesome. I did my third marathon in Malta,
Really?
and
Ooh,
the
go
reason I did
you.
it, well, a lot of it's downhill. So Malta has this
Oh,
marathon, and it's actually starts on top of a hill, a little town, and then you go down. I'm like, yep, I can do that one. Momentum,
There we
with
go.
my size, momentum helps me go down faster than goes up. So, but yeah, it was a good
Momentum and
marathon.
gravity are our friends after 40.
yeah.
Yeah,
My knees are
yeah.
not.
Yeah.
I did 4 hours and 16 minutes that one.
Oh,
My
that's
first one
good,
was
man.
Yes.
Yeah, my first one was 6 hours in Santo Domingo, where life, I think my body left my soul, or my soul left my body. That was
Yeah.
just the heat of a Dominican summer, and a marathon
Ah.
along the Malecon was painful. And then I did Santiago, 5 hours, and then I did the third one. But I want to get back into it. And Melanie at Marathon for Mental Health, she's starting the seed in me again, and I do love my running.
Well, I had a question for you. Have you done any kind of long distance running or a marathon or marathon for mental health this year since you've been working on your breath, since you've started working on breath and getting mastery over that? Because it's incredible
Will make a
how
difference.
much breath work, if you already did it with
Ah,
Scott, it will be so fascinating to see how that transfers into your, and it's not about times, we know it's about times,
yeah.
but if you are kind of really interested to know, you brought them up. It's going to be
I
so
know.
fascinating. Am I not right, Scott? If you
Yeah,
are
it's
thinking mindfully, if you get mastery over your breath, there's a brilliant book called Breath by James Nestor. And if you
yes.
want to learn how to calm down, how to get
Breath.
better sports performance, breath and sleep are the most undervalued primal things that we have. And if you want to look better, feel better, perform
Breath.
better, sleep and breath, start there. There's some
Now, what
really
was
good
Yeah.
that
books out
saying,
there.
Captain Scott? So that's James Nuster, N-U-S, is it? James Nuster?
The book is James Nestor,
Yes.
Nestor, and the book is Breath. Just
Yeah.
Breath.
Perfect.
And
Yeah, I think
there's
that was
that one I brought up before. I think the oxygen method. It's about
Mm.
breathing through your nose. Nose. I forget who it is, and I have it somewhere. I'll send it to anybody that wants it. Because it made a difference with me. Because if you're running a marathon and you're breathing through your nose and breathing slow, you'd be surprised at how much further you can actually go.
And Ruin just joined, who's one of the greatest crew members I've ever had, I think. Ruin's a South African lad, and he the key to Ruin is hard work and smiles. He's just an
Yeah.
absolute pleasure to have on board. But enjoy
Welcome.
your holiday, Ruin. Go and enjoy your holiday. We want to talk about leadership and listening. You know, active listening as a leadership skill. You don't always need to fix a problem. You need to listen, stay present, and make people feel safe enough to talk. These are some of the notes from your course. Trust is built through being heard. So
Mm.
where do we go with that point in the course? You know, it's going to be
So
self-explanatory,
this
but
Yeah, no, it's good. I think again, because we listen all the time, we think we're good at it. Most of us are not. We can be
Hmm.
better. And like any soft skill, as you become a leader, as you become an HOD, as you have that extra salary and extra responsibility, if especially find yourself, maybe you're the kind of middle child on the boat, you're kind of chatting to the captain and people have respect and they might not want to go to the captain, which is great, but you find yourself also having to communicate the crew's needs and being that conduit, that kind of connector. So learning how to be an active listener, it's about being accepting that person as much as they are, accepting you for who you are, what you have or haven't done. There's nothing we can do about it now. You're sitting in my ship's office, you're sitting in my galley. Let's try and make it work. So it's acceptance. It's about being genuine as well. Sometimes it's just being as authentic in that conversation and being transparent. So if I can help you, I will. If I can't, there's nothing we can do until we get off this boat, until we drop off the owner, until we get to the end of this crossing. So kind of, we've seen that change in tone with physical first aid. 20 years ago when we were doing our physical first aid, well, first of all, it was just ABC. There was no
yeah,
doctor at the beginning
yeah.
of it. That's how old I am. And then, we were just told, say anything to keep that person alive. So, Captain Scott's got both legs chopped off, and there's me going, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Captain Scott knows he's not
Breathe,
going to be
hold your breath.
fine.
Like, I don't have any
Do some
legs.
breath work with me. Exactly.
Yeah.
So if we've seen the change in tone, now it's about being authentic. So you're safe now with me. I'm going to stay with you.
Okay.
Help is on its way. And then when I do have to communicate anything, if Scott believes me in that first engagement, he's going to believe me in the rest of the engagement. So it's not about, toxic positivity or always giving good news. It's about being open, authentic, and transparent. And just sometimes saying, you know what, it's tough. We're going to have to get through it. I'm also struggling. When we get to the end of this trip, we can look at some days off, or we can look at a half day off. And then the last part, and you've mentioned it before, is empathy. Empathy is, I don't have to fix you. I can't fix you, but I can let you know that someone's heard you and someone is supporting you and someone has motivation for you to fix yourself. So a lot of health is, I can't fix you, physical health or mental
Mm.
health. You have to fix yourself. You have to do better changes in your life, use more helpful coping mechanisms. And when we're communicating as leaders in a kind of active way, it takes a lot of responsibility off you. You think you're going to absorb a lot more problems, but actually you're just reflecting. Okay, so you're saying it's really tough, and you're saying it really lonely. What are you doing to combat that? Have you been going out when we get crew days off? Are you hanging out with the crew? Are you doing something for your physical health? So it's about kind of just making sure that a person knows when their brain has told them that there's only one way to deal with this, and that's drinking and aggressively and shutting down and not talking to people. As active listeners, we can just reflect back some of those other things that people could be doing. Well, have you tried doing some yoga with Captain Liam at 5 a.m.? It's actually quite a vibe. You get to see the
No,
sunrise.
no,
I
it's
always
not.
have
It's not.
great days.
It's emotional. It's a lot of noises.
Don't argue with me. It's good.
Do it with Sam. Do it with Sam.
Do
She's
it with
great.
Sam. Have you done yoga with Sam? Have you
Six
run
o'clock with
downhill
Sam.
with Captain Liam? He's
That's
great
better.
on the
That's better.
downhills.
No,
So I
so it's
think
active
that's,
listening is the leadership skills we're looking for to help people that are concerned or questioning. But the key words you're saying there are quite supportive and quite understanding and empathetic. They're the key
yeah,
words we need to use. Correct?
yeah,
So,
absolutely. And not
but is it?
not be a fixer. I mean, you
Okay.
can if you're a captain. So there's two captains, busy lives. I mean, you can use a qualifying question. So I used to call it sharking. You'd see someone walk past your ship office door, and then you'd see them walk past again, and then you're like, "Are you here for me?" And then someone will come in. Can we close the door? And you know it's one of those conversations. So
Mm.
in that moment, depending on what's going on, we would use maybe a qualifying question there. So immediately you can just say, "Listen, I've only got 15 minutes before I have to jump on a phone call with the owner. Is there a problem that needs solving? Or do you need someone to talk to? Do you just need someone to listen?" And then immediately the crew member's like, no, I have a problem. Okay, well, then it's a very different response. Then you've got your problem solving hat in. You are active. You are there coming up with solutions. You can do that maybe in 10 minutes. And if that person says, I just need to talk to someone, then you can just sit back. You don't have to fix anything. You do not have to be the fixer. Then it's just about being supportive, being transparent, reminding people about stuff they do have that's going on in their lives, even if they've forgotten it. And it can also mean that, if you are tight for time and you've got a lot of responsibility, okay, if you do want to talk, great. Can we do that after work? I've just got a couple of calls to make and then I'll come and find you at 5 p.m. Let's get off the boat. Let's have that conversation. So there's lots of different ways you can still be an effective leader, get your job done, not put too much pressure on yourself. And that's how
Yeah.
we kind of talk about it in the course.
I think it's great in the course, but I mean, it's a lot goes through my mind. One of the things is, well, the first thing is the other day I thought leaders actually aren't there to lead. We're here to help others lead themselves into better places. I think that's something that I'm learning now, that we're not
Mm-hmm.
the one to be in front and take all the bullets. We're not the one to push people or pull people. We're there to support people's vision to be better versions of themselves. But Captain Scott, our bridges are very visible, and like if you look around now, there's 360 degrees of windows. It's not the best place, though, I don't think, sometimes for people to say, oh, we want to talk. Or a crew member, when they're called to the bridge, their anxiety goes straight up. So and this is the hard thing in yachting, is finding these spaces where crew can talk, and it's not always the captain. I think we need to help each other. What do you think, Captain Scott? Do you understand what I'm saying, though? The bridge
Yeah,
is,
yeah. Because
people get
generally,
called to the bridge, it's not good news all the
yeah,
time,
I rarely call people to the bridge, and usually it's not
so
good.
it's not good.
It's not. It's usually not something good. But I mean, when people do come, I do like what you were saying, where you kind of qualify and kind of have those leading questions. That kind of, I think I'm definitely going to use that, because then it kind of puts a little bit of time on it, to where that a lot of times people just need somebody to listen to them, and they want to feel heard. So if it's something that can be dealt with after work, where you take a walk and talk and let them unload, maybe that's all they
Okay.
need. And there's where that empathy comes in, because I've learned, and I've said this before, that as I get older, I've learned I'm less sympathetic, but I'm a lot more empathetic, and understanding where people are coming from and what they've gone through, because we've all gone through a lot of different things that are, and everybody handles things differently. And when somebody does come to you, you need to give them the respect of, like, hey, you can't disregard why they're coming to you, because they think high enough of you, that they're coming to you and saying, hey, I need help. And if you don't take that seriously, then that's going to probably make them feel slighted, or put them in a lower regard of themselves, because they're like, they kind of just didn't do anything. They disregarded me, and you really, I like the way you qualified those, and kind of, if they need to be dealt with right then, hey, let me see what I can do to help you hear and listen, and then come up with a solution, or just maybe just listen, because as captains, we do need to listen more. And that's like
Mm.
that's something that I've studied quite a lot from a lot of really effective leaders. Is some of them, well, all of them are the best listeners, because they absorb what everyone else is putting out there, and then they can make the most effective decision by listening.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn there. For me, the older I get, the more I understand this. But I think what I'm trying to advise other people too out there in industry, Emma, there's other places, not just the bridge, that you can talk. You can walk and talk. You can find a spot on the bow. You can have a cup of tea on the dock. So I think there's always space. A lot of captains and leaders always think it's their office or their space, like you
Hmm.
mentioned, or the galley. But I think there's other places. Is that correct, Emma? It's anywhere.
I
I
I think
think
it's great. I
I
think
think
as
there's
well, if you
something.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, that body mechanic of walking is quite a natural, organic one. It's really good for meditation. It's really good. And also, if you are having to active listen, you might be feeling like, oh God, what shall I be doing with my eyes? What shall I be saying like with my body language? When you're walking, you've got that natural forward focus of the walk. You can check in with that person. You don't have to think about eye contact or body language. And you've got confidentiality. So you're not going to have anyone barging in. So in a car, on a walk, you've got privacy, you've got the next 40 minutes in the car, you've got that kind of forward focus. So it's not feeling so intense, especially if you've never had to listen kind of like as a therapist or done any training. So absolutely changing the energy, going for a walk would always be. It's where I get my best kind of ideas and thoughts, and it's definitely where I have my best combos.
Well, my
Yeah.
best is underway. When you get underway and you choose the
In the
watch
dark.
schedules, yeah, yeah, exactly. When you choose the watch schedules, a lot of times I'm choosing the most inexperienced crew to be around and the junior
Mm,
crew. And it's not that I get on with them, I don't know them sometimes. I'm learning, we've just worked together. But then you get to know them over a passage or a transatlantic or something, and you help them and you give them some advice and you teach them some stuff. And that really strengthens the team, I've found in my career.
yeah.
Anyway,
And
we've got
you
a couple,
learn
two
from
more.
them as well. You're both
Yeah.
Yeah.
humble, you're both open. So there you are, kind of, giving. And then suddenly you're like, damn, I just got something myself. And you can take that forward. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely a
Yeah.
mutual benefit.
And they go
Yeah.
back to the
With
crew and say, Captain, the music's terrible. You don't want to listen, you don't want to do a watch with him. He listens to Andrea Bocelli and Zucchero and but
yeah, I
No
anyway,
would
judgments.
yeah.
I would add also with the walk too, that kind of sets the pace, you
Mm.
know. Because then you
Oh,
can
good point.
kind of get that if you kind of walk slowly, if you start walking faster or what have you, if you kind of walk slowly and kind of just walk them through everything, I think that kind of sets also getting the crew out of the bridge, they know they're not in trouble.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not in the
very much
headmaster's
so.
office.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
yeah,
It's such a funny call on yachts when you hear it. Can you come to the
yeah.
bridge, please? And you're like, sometimes
Oh,
it's just adjusting something. You're like, we should make it. Anyway, we've got two more points, but we're chatting. We're loving this. I really am. Thank you, Emma, for your time. I really do.
Thank you for
yeah,
Thanks
the
for
it's
your time.
awesome.
invites.
Those are
You
yours,
Yeah,
passed the
Captain Scott.
mark. I'm in with Captain Liam and Scott.
Not at all, not at all. Well, we
thank you.
started this just because the industry doesn't talk much. It doesn't talk
Yeah,
openly. It talks within beautiful edits of
yeah,
good
yeah,
Instagram stuff, and I'm
yeah,
like, I
yeah.
can't do the edits, man. I can just be
Sound
me.
bites.
I
Yeah,
want to
Yes,
learn. I want to
exactly.
help. Anyway, so we've got practicing good health. We talked about that. We talked about sleep, rotations, rest. Water is a huge one. Fiber, I've learned recently, is one of the biggest things we're not eating enough of. Fiber, vitamin D's. Let's go into providing yacht-specific resources for crew. Today, you made a post, Emma, where you mentioned 4 specific companies. There's plenty out there, but let's
Mhm.
run through them if you've got time.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit behind the scenes here. So I have a fabulous company doing my social media posts. So do you have that post
Oh,
up? I just want to check because I know all of the resources. I always signpost people, but if you're talking about a specific post, I haven't even
Marathon for
seen it
Mental
yet.
Health,
Oh, okay. Yep. Marathon for Mental Health.
which is
Relief.
yeah,
Relief crew.
relief. Yeah,
Yep.
last one.
Yep.
And I didn't know the last one. I'll go grab them up. But tell us about Marathon for Mental Health because you sound like you're getting into the running as well.
Well, I mean, yeah, I've always been a runner. Like I said, it's been great for my mental health. And I've worked with Mel. So Mel White started Marathon for Mental Health last year. And it was an idea, just the thought in Monaco. And she has just taken that thought, made it into reality and literally just run with it. And it has been so brilliant. And I think there's so many crew that want an alternative. They want a healthy alternative. But again, we're service kind of industry based and we want to help. We want to know that we're doing it for something. And I think her idea of a flexible marathon that people can do over the month of October means you can do 26 crew could all do 1 mile each. So that's a great way to kind of hang out. Two crew could
oh,
take
cool.
13 miles each and run consecutively back to back. You could do it over a passage. There's just so many ways to do it. And when we are time poor and, we're all around the world, maybe there's also a nice little bit of competition, team unbridled versus what's your boat, Captain Scott?
TCB.
TCBs, unbridled versus TCB. So kind of leaning into some of that competition, leaning into those things. And I think, we're just, what Mel's done so brilliantly is she's created a space where people can talk about running, raising money,
Yeah.
doing something for charity. And it fits in our world. It makes sense for our world. So she's fabulous. And we love Marathon for Mental Health, and we will continue to support Mel. Relief Crew Fund, these aren't necessarily resources. These were companies that we saw yachties doing something different. So it's not just,
Yeah.
whispering angel in the bar again. We all know how fabulous that can be, but there's also other things that you can do on your time off. And Sam from Relief Crew, I just loved his idea. There's sometimes crew
He's
members
done it
where
for a
they
long time, I think.
He's done it for about 4 years, I believe. It has been going for 4 years, and he's done
Yeah.
incredibly well with it. And it's just been pushing and pushing and pushing. And, some crew don't necessarily want to go home. Home for them is the boat. And they find it really horrible when they have nowhere to go. And crew are like,
Yeah.
oh, what are you doing on your rotation? Maybe they're an engineer that has all these amazing skills and not really much to kind of go home to. So by putting that amazing yachting knowledge and confidence and skills into something like Relief Crew means you could be going to Ghana, Sierra Leone, going to somewhere that's been hit by a cyclone or hurricane, and actually do something with your skills and knowledge. It's not just about polishing teak. We can actually kind of build something with those skills. And then Ice One would be the big resource that we always, always want to make people aware of, because it is such a brilliant, free, multilingual, confidential helpline. And we aligned with Ice One. I've been supporting them ever since I kind of met the ladies at in Nice, the first year I started
Is
Seize the
that
Mind. They've
Laura?
just moved.
Laura Beard?
Laura Beers is there, and then Georgia Allen.
Okay.
There's some brilliant people at Ice One, but behind all of Ice One and all of the stuff that you see online, underneath all of that, they are making sure that we have working manned telephones that can, if you pick up the phone in the middle of the night, in the middle of the ocean, because you are scared, you're lonely, you're suicidal, you will have someone to talk to. You are never alone
Awesome.
on the boat. No
That's
matter what your
fantastic.
brain tells you, no matter what's going on in your life, at the end of a phone line will be a trained professional that can talk you down, can help you. And because they're used to working with yachts, they're not going to say something reductive like, just get off the boat. And then that crew member's like, I'm in the middle of the ocean. That doesn't work for me. They're going to
Yeah.
find out, very much like MEDA and MSOS, they're going to understand what's going on. What have you got? They'll assess your environment. They'll assess you. They will look after you. So Ice One has been just a game changer in yachting, and yeah, we will continue to support them as long as they are operating.
Well, I agree.
Fantastic.
Yacht Crew help with Ice1.org because it's commercial and yacht specific too. There's a yacht specific section, but I know one that's preventative, prevention rather than cure. Emma at Seize the Mind. I think that's a great organisation. I think I loved hearing your voice in the crew mess the other day. You saw my crew at 8 o'clock. They're a little flat, but we get there. They came up. They're a good group of
They did.
people.
They were
They make
fabulous.
yeah, I appreciate it. And some of the stews were like, it was great because, some of the boys said false to some question and someone else said true to another. The same questions, Captain Scott.
Yeah,
And that's
Mm,
good. That they have a different opinion on a topic. And then
yeah.
they discuss the topic. And then I heard the jokes later about it, and it was fun. It was really, I cannot thank you enough,
No,
Emma.
that's
And
really cool.
all
oh,
leaders,
thank
all
you.
brokers, it's anyone in the industry, and any company shoreside should be signing this up for a kind of crew building exercise. If it's not the 2 days, just the mental health aware is a perfect start. We're going to wrap
Great
it up,
entry.
Captain Scott. Anything to finish on this week? Thanks for the breath work.
Yeah, in piggybacking on to what we were just talking about here, other organizations. I'm actually an ambassador for Grand Yacht Crew, and they're launching this weekend, I believe, with their app,
Yeah,
and it's for crew by crew. It has all from mental health to community activities for crew all around the world to do. And I met Nick last year, and they just a great young man doing some really special things. And I look forward to the launch and having people
yeah.
take a look at it, because it's more interactive, built by crew for crew, so that it takes into account all the things that we go through, and it has any kind of help you can think of in there, from mental to financial to to,
Yeah.
you
Well, I
know,
think that's the thing,
all the
like
other things.
yourself, Emma, you're from the industry, you've seen it, like you work
Yeah.
on chefs, you went through the trauma, like you, Captain Scott, like me, I've seen firsthand like remote expedition cruising and the effects it has on crew. And when they go ashore and they have a big party and it's like, all right, we're not good for the next week till we get
Yeah,
back out to
or,
sea
or ever.
or ever. Or we've made some bad decisions. So anyway, for all crew out there and crew news, so thanks shout out to him. I think that's Alex. But for all crew out there, you're not alone. There's
Yeah.
resources. There's people like Captain Scott. There's Emma Sees the Mind. There's Ice One. You're not alone, and that's the point of Check-in Tuesdays, to just say it's not just once a week, but it's it's a
Yeah.
reminder once a week. Thanks, Emma. Be blessed.
Thank
Emma Sees the
you.
Mind.
Thank you,
Ciao,
Captain
guys.
Scott.
everyone. Thank you for
I'm
this.
going for a minute tomorrow for my breath
Ooh.
retention.
We'll check the stats
All right.
tomorrow.
All right.
All right.
That,
Be
just
safe.
remember, it's not a competition, but
Okay, true. All right, thanks, mate.
Ciao,
Bye.
everyone.
all right,
Bye.
guys.
Bye.